I'm out at Wildwood Mountain Bike Trail where I normally ride, and I brought along the Rattan folding fat tire e-bike. E-bike because this is going to help me talk as I ride along the trail, and the Rattan because it's full suspension. Now, even though this is an e-bike, it does pose some challenges out here. Number one, it's not quite powerful enough to make it up the hills, and you can't really stand on the pedals to pedal. Number one, because it's an e-bike, it's going to assist. And number two, it's just awkward with this beanstalk, the way I'm up high. And another challenge, I know this from being out here with it 4 times already, this folding stand, it hangs on things. You can see it's already really close, and this is just a few inches up. So let me show you how it does, but the main point of this video is to try something new. I want to talk as I ride through the trails. So let's see how that's going to work out. So let's get going on what I call the warm-up loop. Now this works in 2 ways. You can go around this way and end up right back at the end of the trail, which is what we're going to do now, or reverse it, go a bit further. Now, I always start out with any new bike on this easy, quick loop of the warm-up trail. This gives me a chance to check how the suspension works, how the brakes are going to work, how it shifts. And I'm going to be super careful because these roots are actually wet. So things are going to get slippery here. Had almost 4 inches of rain, and the rattling you're hearing is not the front suspension, it is actually the battery rattling inside this Rattan frame. I mentioned that in the review. Also, my voice is going to get a little shaky because I'm seated while I'm riding. It's just awkward to stand. So it's actually shaking me quite a bit. As you can see, a lot of little hidden roots here at Wildwood. And that's everywhere you go at Wildwood. All right, so that is the quick warm-up loop that I always take. And I'm right back at the beginning where we started. Okay, now you've heard me refer to the main ride in here at Wildwood as the Soul Sucker. I'm going to take that, and then later I'll come back and we'll loop the other part of what I call the warm-up loop that ends right up here. So let's start out on the Soul Sucker, which even on this bike with the pedal assist, still kind of wearing. And it's not super steep. This isn't any kind of a great incline, but it is just enough to be wearing. There's a bench at the top I call Redemption Bench. That's what I always try to get to. Just trying to avoid anything super slippery. That's why you see me taking an odd line. Again, this is the Soul Sucker. A lot easier on a mountain bike or an e-mountain bike. Here is where we would come out on the longer section of what I call the warm-up loop. More trails off to the left, and also off to the right. Okay, kind of a flatter part. Get up a little bit of speed. This is tail heavy big time, so it makes it, got to be careful. The back end wants to drop and the front end wants to come up. And no, it's still not a good wheelie bike. And I am actually pedaling just as hard as I would pedal, or close to it, on a regular bike, because this thing weighs over 60 pounds. And that was that stand, snagging a bit on roots. Sad when you get winded on the e-bike. But this is just a slow, arduous climb. And even on an e-bike, it's just kind of wearing. And I've talked to the manager of the local bike shop, super in shape guy. He said even he looks forward to that bench at the top. Which we're getting fairly close to. A little bit of downhill here, or decline, not downhill. Other trails off to the left. That's one of the good things about Wildwood. A lot of places you ride, you know, have those one or two paths. Wildwood is completely interlaced with trails that join back into each other and split off. Lots and lots of riding options. Okay, here's one of our signs at the main split here. Motocross trail cliffhanger, whole story there. And then main trail, and here is Salvation Bench. Home to bees in the summertime, but I look forward to it each and every ride. So bench there, main trail picks back up here. Lots and lots of trails off here to the right, and those split off. Get to those in other videos. For this, just being kind of an introductory video into this type of riding. See if you guys even would enjoy this. I'm gonna stick to this main trail. And this, or at least coming up here, seeing a lot of my videos, but I'm going in the opposite direction. This is where I can get on a big box bike and get up a little bit of speed, especially coming back. And kind of test it out on mostly hard pack with just a few hidden routes, which you can hear from that battery bouncing around that it's not quite as smooth as it looks. Having to put some pressure on these pedals, even though it's an e-mountain bike. Just again, that not a lot of torque here on this Rattan, or at least not as much as the electric or that Event that I recently reviewed. Little hump, a lot of people like to catch some air over that. Now Wildwood, I have been riding, especially this part. I used to ride this back and forth, back years and years ago on my old Trek 4300, but they've added something new. I wouldn't say it's added, something that has sprung up that so far has been okay. You'll see in just a moment. Could create some future issues. Dodge tree branches. They have built apartments back here, which is not a problem, but people come and walk these trails now. And most of the people that are walking them are pretty good. They see a mountain biker coming and they step off to the side, but I've had a couple of occasions where they didn't, which if you're barreling down a trail at 20 miles an hour, 20 plus, then that could be a problem. But so far so good for the most part. Now we're coming to what we call Power Line, which is the faster section of the trail. And this is where you see me, I think on the Cannondale Trigger 3 video. That was where I really found out how good that full suspension was, because I could cook it down this on that Trigger 3. It was great. This bike, I will not be going fast. Now I want to show you, they have split this, and they're working. There are warning signs all up there about it not being complete, but that's the main part of Power Line, and you can see it kind of flows over some hills, which this thing will not be able to get up one of those hills, just FYI. But this is a jump and another jump that they're working on. So just some new additions here at Wildwood. Let me get back on power line. Now this looks smooth, and it is for the most part, but not quite smooth enough for this bike. Oh, there goes some deer. Wow, a bunch of them. Look at that. Only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 deer. I don't know how well you can see those. Now I'm going to be super careful here because this is deceivingly ruddy. And I don't trust this bike, at least not with that stalk, this bean stalk, to be able to take the pressure that I would put on it while I'm standing up. And here is the big hill. And as I said, I'm in the lowest gear, pedaling with everything that I have. I can't stand up because it's too awkward. And right there it dies. Not even a tenth of the way up. And that means I have to push a 65-pound bike, or 60 whatever pounds this is. It feels like a million right now. Up this loose rocks sliding under my feet as I try to work my way up this hill. So this doesn't have, nope, doesn't have a walk mode. It can't, without me on it, it wants to take off if I throttle it. Oh gosh. This is steep. Oh, I barely get up this on my lightest bikes. It's an iffy situation, but with this, ooh. Okay, made it to the top. Let me catch my breath and I'll tell you where we are. So you see this fidlock still holding on. I mean, this is a lot of water in there, pretty heavy. Still doing great. All right, the sign says Powerline Trail Loop. Goes that way, and it's gonna end up that third pole way off in the distance. It's gonna come out right there and put us right back on the part of the trail that's right next to those apartments. So let's get to it. Have to be super, super careful here. I don't ride this section that much. I did ride it on this the other day, and I wouldn't call it a crash, but I fell over trying to avoid briars, fell into poison oak. So, you know, one thread into another. But I know coming up there are a lot of roots and a climb that is difficult. I don't think I've even made it with this thing yet. Just one of those quick little vertical ups. Go ahead and lower my gearing. There's some briars, have to watch those. Now I've ridden this before on one of our night rides. And man, it's fun when you can only see what your headlight illuminates. Well, it was fun except for the part I was riding with people that were, well, they were way better at both riding and in shape as me. And that meant they were being held up by me, so kind of embarrassing, and I never went back. They were doing them regularly. Probably hear some dogs here in a second. Have to be careful here. This bike has hydraulic brakes. Makes this part a little better. And we're coming up to part where I bit it the other day. Let's see if I can get up this. Come on. No, it's not gonna do it. And by the way, there were briars back there, and I fell over the poison oak over there. It's one of those cases where you're on a hill and you try to dismount and it just kind of flings you in a direction. Oh, that was the stand hitting on a root. So we're right back to the power line up by the apartments. Now there are quite a few trails. I'm not going to do these today, but this is another salvation bench. I love this bench too. Lots of trails, they split off, trees blocking one of them. I'll show these in another video. I'm going to try to index all of these, but not today. Today I'm going to stick to the main trail. Again, just a sampler video, so be sure to comment, let me know if you want to see more like this. I'm going to be quiet for a second, try to get some footage that I can use as a follow-up video for this Rattan. Back on the main trail, this is where I can get up some speed on big box bikes. A little less so on this because I want to be more cautious. Right back to salvation bench. These tires, not the traction you would think out here, especially on routes. Hear that Altus bouncing around just a little bit. Well, more than a little bit, but this is area also that I ride regularly. This is a right after salvation bench. And it goes multiple directions. It's a main trail right there off to the left. I'm just shadowing it. Headed back towards the entrance. So it's just a slight detour. Off to the right is the cliffhanger. And again, I'm going to do an entire video on that, because it is something to see, or a story to hear anyway. And then to watch this stand, a lot of these things will reach up and grab it. These little humps that don't look like much, like this one. About lost traction there. That one grabs it, I know. Try to straighten this camera really fast. Again, doing this kind of all in one take. Hear the cars because we're getting closer to the road. This is a section where we have a few jumps. There's quite a few jumps out here at Wildwood. I don't take them. I like my life. Know your skill level. It's an important part of bike riding in general. You'll recognize some of this. Usually do a lot of down angle shots at the front wheel, especially right up here because it gets rooty. Good point to show big box suspensions. Riding through here. And we're back on the main trail. No longer the soul sucker because we're going downhill. And another thing about an e-bike, these rear hub motor e-bikes, they're so heavy on the back end that these slight little sloping gradients with loose rocks, the back end will just shoot out from under you because all the weight is right back there. So there we have it, right back at the entrance.